New Zealand Post robust defence of a model it knows has flaws has sobering echoes of the UK post office scandal, writes Maria Slade in this week's Shoe Shine. Well, Maria, I've seen the documentary and the dramatisation of Mr Bates versus the Post Office, and it was really shocking stuff, and a massive corporate scandal. Are there really parallels to what's going on here in New Zealand?
Yeah, look, readers are probably familiar with the two docos, or the dramatisation and the doco that have been shown on New Zealand television screens in recent weeks. You know, it was massive. Over 900 postal workers wrongly convicted, prosecuted over this, IT system that was showing up
But
cash.
they were the only ones.
They were the only ones showing up these cash losses that weren't real. And, to this day, they are still fighting for the compensation. And obviously, we haven't seen anything like that here. But we are seeing a big sort of change in the way our postal system operates. New Zealand Post announced that it will merge mail and parcel deliveries into one courierised model.
But this is rural deliveries, isn't it?
This is across the board. Over the next 5 years, they will gradually merge mail into courier, and there will be one network, and there's going to be something like 750 job losses. And then the other thing that's happening at the moment is its deed of understanding with the government's up for renewal, and that has to be done by the end of June. And so there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines going, well, what is this new deed going to say? Because we're starting to see things like New Zealand Post announced the other day that it's cutting Saturday deliveries to rural customers. So thin end of the wedge, what's going on? There's a lot of questions being asked.
And just for readers so they know, what does the deed actually include? What does it cover?
Well, the deed covers their service obligations and, what they are supposed to do. So at the moment it's 5-day mail deliveries to rural and 3-day to urban, as we know. But we don't know what the new structure will be, particularly given Post's announcements. And so, look, the courier industry is watching this with great interest because there's a lot of problems with the rural delivery funding model. And so I put a request in to speak to David Walsh, the Chief Executive of New Zealand Post, and I was just given a one-liner, this does not affect rural delivery. And that just can't possibly be true because they, in my opinion, because they have signalled as far back as 2013 that they're looking at 3-day deliveries for rural customers. And the other problem is we're starting to see examples of how the rural delivery funding model just doesn't work. There's been a case in Hamilton, a couple called Danny and Ian Kennedy, who ended up losing their run over disputes with New Zealand Post. And now, bear in mind, these are runs that these business people pay for. In the case of the Kennedys, they paid $350,000 for what they thought was an exclusive run. And in the court papers, as part of their dispute, it's emerged that the funding model just didn't work. They were just basically underfunded for all their labour costs, their vehicle costs. They ended up working for less than minimum wage. So there's problems with that model, and the courier sector are going, well, is this the model they're going to roll out across
and surely if they have less days, it's going to be even less viable.
Well, that's the other thing. So if they were to cut to 3 days a week, that would presumably mean half the number of rural delivery contractors. There's about 560 at the moment. Also, it's like, so the funding model doesn't work now. How would they be making it work? These are all questions that New Zealand Post is just not answering. And the report that was done 10 years ago said, because they get paid this benchmark rate for delivering the mail, if they were to cut it to 3 days, it simply wouldn't be worth these rural couriers' while. So how are they going to make it work?
Do you think the court action is why NZ Post is being fairly secretive about this?
Well, the elephant in the room to all of this is that I am aware that there has been another case involving a group of couriers in another part of the North Island. The Kennedys are in the Waikato, and it wasn't just them, too, I might add. There were other couriers that were in a similar position. This other group, it ended up that there was a professional services firm that did a report on the funding model, and I am told it concluded that the funding model was inadequate. And so New Zealand Post, I believe, settled with these couriers. And so I have put in a request under the Official Information Act to get this report. Post hasn't denied that it existed, but they have just said that they have an obligation of confidentiality, so it won't be released. So again, we're none the wiser as to what is going on. But if all that is correct, then that has big implications for the wider rural delivery sector and also the wider model change that they want to move to.
And of course, wide implications for the people who live in rural areas, doesn't it?
Well, that's right. And just no one's talking about it at the moment. But, if you think about it, okay, so it's not the UK postal scandal, but if you have a wee think about some of the parallel themes, this is a corporatised model that's under stress because of change. That's what we've got here. This is potentially a nationalised payment system that's gone wrong, and individuals are having to bear those losses. The Post is very robustly defending itself and not, talking about what the implications may be for a system that they know has got flaws. So it seems to me there's some serious questions to be answered about what's going on.
And hopefully it doesn't end up in a massive cover-up. Thanks for your time, Maria.
Thank you.
To support our award-winning independent journalism, subscribe to nbr.co.nz.